Hello, hi. It's been a while, a good 7-10 days. I hate it because I feel like every time I want to make a video, I forget to make it, and then later on, when I'm not alone at home, and I'm like, shit, I forgot to make my video. I like making it when I'm making it when I'm alone at home, because I don't know, because I'm a loud person. Sometimes my personality, like everyone's gonna know I'm doing something, and then my parents will want to see what I'm doing. So that's one thing. But hi. So recently I noticed I have 7 subscribers now, which is kind of crazy because, like, who are you 7 people? One of them being me, so 6. I keep reminding you all that one of them is me. Because I think it's important to know. I think I'm a very transparent creator like that to my 6 people who watch. uh, Recently, I got a comments. Okay. So recently, I got some comments on my videos, like one or two, and it was by 2 different people. And I have to say that I have realized that it's so hard for me to put myself out there. It's because I am so afraid of being perceived, and I always have. Today, we're not going to talk about being perceived or perception of how we look at things. Today we're gonna talk about me, since it's my YouTube channel, so I'm gonna talk about what I think of me. I happen to be a very personal, very private person. That's not really true, but I obviously don't want to give a lot of my life on this internet, even though it's just 6 people watching. But I will tell you one thing, is that it made me realize that I don't want to post. Like, I felt weird posting anymore because I was like, oh my god, people are actually seeing me and they're perceiving me, and they're saying good things about me. What if they start saying bad things? What if I don't appeal to the people the way I want to appeal to them? And I've realized that I've always had an issue with being perceived. So where does this stem from? I have never been one of those girls that has been about, like, that have wanted attention from men ever. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing necessarily. I mean, it's not a good thing. I'm just saying that I'm not trying to be like a pick me and be like, oh, I'm not like other girls. I am like other girls. Also, look at my Mendi. This is the most women thing ever. I love Mendi, but it's also like fading off, so it looks like shit. But it's still cool. So basically, what I was trying to say is that growing up, I didn't care for attention from men. I didn't have a lot of crushes on people, and I didn't like doing that because I was one thing. I was like really in my head a lot. I was really into the fandom, superhero Marvel fandom, way too much, like way too much. Like, my crushes were all fictional, and then came anime, so then my crushes became fictional on the other side. So I've never really cared about what people think of me in that sense, like if I'm pretty enough or if I'm like being liked enough. And that's why I guess I never cared for people when, if they said I was pretty or not. I didn't really care if people think I'm pretty or not, and I never thought I was like a pretty person. Like, I never thought I was pretty. And so I didn't really care, and I'll tell you, there was so much bliss in that because I was never truly terribly insecure. I am insecure about if people would like me or not, but that's also being perceived. And I was also insecure in that sense. Like, I was insecure not in a physical sense, but always in a, am I interesting enough, am I nice enough, am I cool enough? So, like, what I was saying was that I've always worried a lot about my personality more than I have about my looks growing up. And when I went to 11th, 12th, that's when I had an idea that people considered me pretty. I still, like, it's a whole, like, I'm not even getting into that, but I think of myself like that. But at least that's what people told me. And it did give me validation, and it did make me feel a certain way. It was a different kind of validation that felt like a bonus, like, oh, so people think I'm pretty. And it felt nice, and it made me even more confident in myself than I was before. Because then, I don't think that's a good thing though, because then I started caring less about my personality as much as I did about how I looked, and my hair, and what was going on. See, I'm a color, like, I love coloring my hair. I've always liked that. I feel that that's my way of, like, expressing who I am. But even, but I do feel like it all stems from the fact that people started calling me pretty, and that me wanting to stand out a little more, or me wanting to trying to figure out a way of how I can put my inside personality outside. Now, I do think this is a different topic. This is such a wider topic of how the patriarchy keeps women in these loops of, like, spending so much money on hair, on skin, on plastic surgery, and how and clothes and jewelry and stuff like that, so that and spending so much money and time on these things so that they don't focus as much on other more important things. And I do think that it is a big issue. Like, that is a huge topic. I've read like about it. I've seen people give some amazing pointers about these things. And uh but that is not what I'm talking about today. So that is why I never really cared about how I look like, because I felt like that wasn't as important. And I just wanted to look normal, but I also like experimenting with things, because that's who I am. It's so hot right now, like I'm sweating. It's like crazy. But that's not the point. But yeah, so that's where like my fear of being perceived got worse, because now I'm looking at the world, and do they think I'm pretty and cool? Do they just think I'm cool? Do they think I'm pretty, but do they think I'm like dumb? Like, what is happening? And then I started stepping into rooms where I looked at someone and I thought what they thought of me. The whole time my brain is working in a sense, in a weird way, where I start looking at myself from other people's lens. And there is like, and it's crazy because they've not said anything about me or how they perceive me or what they do. But it's kind of crazy that like people will look at me and be like, just normal, but I couldn't do that because I'm like, in my head they hate me, or they thought this was weird, or it's like I'm constantly looking at myself from other people's eyes. I'm not looking at myself from my own eyes. And that's where like I think my anxiety also started, because I became obsessed with how people perceive me, like obsessed. And that's what has been like an issue throughout my life. I think that my people pleasing tendencies got worse. I was always a people pleaser, but I think that came just like pleasing others. That's also, I think, like a perception thing, but I think it 100% got worse when I started like looking at myself from other people's eyes. And that is what scares me till date. So basically, it's like you're stuck in this loop of wanting to put yourself out there constantly, because you know there's so much that you have to say and so much that you can and so much that you can do, but then you stop doing that because you're constantly going to think of what people are going to think of you. So that's why I started this YouTube channel while telling no one about it, so that no one can think of me, and no one that I know can think of me, and it's all strangers that I don't care enough about what strangers think. That's what I thought. Till I saw the comments and it started scaring me and freaking me out. And my first thought was, I think I'm gonna stop posting, because I was so scared of like being perceived, and I'm so scared of people thinking about me. I'm just like, I'm terrible at that. And I think that is why I've always loved things that happen behind the scenes, of being someone who's done something behind the scenes. If you've noticed, I also wear like a lot of loud jewelry, but that's something I like. Like, that's something I like, and I don't know if I can get into that. Like, look at myself, why I dress a certain way, or why I always like my hair red. Like, I'm not really getting into all that, because like that's not what I want to do right now. But I got really scared of people looking at me and people thinking of what I say and liking what I say. But also, like, what if you don't like what I say? Like, it's a whole thing. And I'm a yap. Like, I'm just saying whatever here, right? But at the same time, I have a lot of thoughts, and I have a lot of beliefs, and I have a really like lot of strong belief systems, and I'm afraid that I'll never be able to put them out there. Like, if I'm not at least in a group setting, at least in like an online setting, because I'm afraid of what people are going to think that I think. But my beliefs are strong. Like, I'm woke and insufferable is what I'll tell you this. But I'm still afraid of like people viewing me. And I think my biggest issue is like people looking at me from a certain lens that people look at women from. I think the moment people started considering me pretty is also when people start taking you less seriously. This sounds like this sounds terrible and shallow, and like, oh my god, I don't think I'm pretty, so people are not taking me seriously, like pretty privileged. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the moment I started concentrating also on how I look, I started realizing that even I started viewing myself a little differently, and that I was not in like these seriouser conversations, or people didn't talk to me about like seriouser things that they used to. And that started bothering me too. And then I have to like, it's a weird thing going on in my head, because I've always been like that weird girl in school who was obsessed with superheroes, who loved superheroes so much. And I've been on the internet a lot, so I've had like a Cave Town phase, I've had a Wilbur suit phase, I've had like these weird like phases. in life and have listened to all these weird indie songs. I wouldn't call them weird, but like, like a certain type of indie songs where when you're like the weird girl. But and I was confident in that. I stopped becoming confident, and this I know properly when it happened to me was when I was in college and I had like this group of friends who were very like me, grown on the same internet as me and the same thoughts. But then I realized that people were looking at these group of people as weird. And it's not that I looked at them that they were weird. I didn't think they were weird, but I also had other set of friends that were rather cooler and not as weird. And I stopped myself from interacting a lot with that set of people that people thought were weird because I didn't want to be looked at as part of them. And the fact that they that I wanted to be like, oh yeah, I do talk to them, but I wanted to be like the person who's like just the girl who talks to everyone, who's friends with everyone, but I just didn't want to be put under that label. And they're amazing set of people. I still think they're amazing, creative, amazing people that will go so far in life. But I didn't even realize I was doing that till one of them pointed it out to me. They said it. They're like, Sarah, you chose to step away from this. We're not close because you chose to be there with cooler people. And I didn't even think about it like that. But maybe I was doing that because I started looking at how people were looking at them. And I was so afraid that people are going to look at me a certain way that I put myself out of a situation. And I put myself in another situation. But I'm the kind of person who was amazing friends with people who weren't like weird, who weren't looked at as weird, and amazing friend with these other people who are amazing people. And I still chose one side when I could have had both because I did love both set of people. But I was so afraid of what people will think of me that I took myself out of that thing, and I was never having conversations that I liked. I mean, it's not that I was never having conversations I liked. I love these people too. But I was not having those conversations I was having with this other set of people that I loved having these conversations about so many things that I liked and so many things that both of us, like both set of people, grew up on. And I realized that so later in life. I realized that after coming out of college that, oh, I was so afraid of being perceived that I also started looking at people who were like me in a different lens. And that's not okay at all. And at least I've come to realize that. I'm not saying I'm like a good person realizing this, but I'm just saying that when you're 18, you make stupid mistakes. And this was one of them. But at the same time, I have wanted to be the kind of person that everyone likes, and that really does put you in the worst of spots because then you are weirdly a bad person because you are trying to make everyone happy, and if you're gonna make everyone happy, you're not gonna make yourself happy, and also you're gonna do things that you don't like, and you're gonna resent people for it, and it's a whole loop. And then eventually people who are not gonna like you are not gonna like you, and that's okay. That's completely fine. That is okay. But it's hard for me to accept it even till this date. For me to look at a comment and seeing people perceiving me scares me. Like, why are people looking at me? Why are people thinking of me? But I have to put myself out there, and being perceived is scary. So that's that. Like, I'm scared of being perceived, guys. That's it. Like, that's all. Like, this is not like a learning experience. It's just like a talk. Like, I'm just ranting to my 6 subscribers. But yeah, I think this is it. I think that I do think that I need to get out of that, because if I don't get out of that, how will I create? How will I put myself out there if I'm so scared of people are gonna think of me all the time? Okay, bye.